Ah, come on. Okay. How's it going, guys? Joe here. Today I'm going to be doing some more of that Fitbit development, essentially. So let's just get to it. So I kind of want to keep it short tonight, but essentially I've done a little bit of analysis of the data, not a whole lot, because the day would go on and then all of a sudden the app would have closed itself out. I don't know if that was part of the programming or if it just somehow actually timed out, but as part of a battery saving feature. But um, either way, there were some days I couldn't analyze for that reason. Also, it feels like a chore and it's kind of miserable analyzing it in this form, as you can probably imagine. So essentially, I'm going to alter it a little bit based on what I found, which will make it slightly easier to analyze. Because I kept entering a bunch of numbers into the calculator to find averages and stuff like that. Trying to figure out what's best to do, because let's face it, it's really difficult to tell what stage it's actually in. It's not as easy to tell as I thought it would be, but the heart rate does tend to be a little bit higher when I'm in REM. But you have to like analyze data overall to actually detect that, because even in light sleep or deep sleep, I've had heart rates of like 90. Sometimes it'll be like mid 50s too. It really varies a lot. So clearly it's an analysis type thing. Um, it's kind of hard for me to pick things out, but um, I'm not really drawing really any conclusions yet. But I want to very quickly alter the program so it's a little bit easier for further analysis based on what I would like to look at. So essentially what I found is that, yeah, the heart rate does tend to be a little bit higher during REM, and actually um, generally if there is higher heart rate with no motion, that generally does mean REM, but it's still really hard to say for sure. So um, and then factoring in movement that either happens during REM or out of REM, that makes things really tricky as well. So um, I have some constraints that I think I'm going to try to go with, but I've essentially written some stuff down. So um, let me know if the microphone is too loud. It does kind of peak out, but I think it's just because that's how loud it happens to be, but I don't think it's supposed to be a problem. But if it is, let me know, of course. So um, yeah, what I think I'm gonna do is, rather than doing XYZ motion, I don't pick out particular things about X, Y, and Z. So, or Z for some of you non-Americans. Um, I'm just gonna add them up, and I figure if it's greater than 100, it's critical and should be looked at. So I found that sometimes I'll make a little bit of motion that's less than 100 from time to time, but I feel like when it's over 100, the total, then um, so essentially what I was thinking of doing was analyzing data from one movement to another movement, and essentially like if it does analysis and it thinks it might be in REM in between, well then it'll have like a total amount of REM. We're not going to program that tonight, but that's the idea. Then it goes from this movement to the next movement, and if it thinks it's still REM, then it'll add that many more minutes to REM. That's kind of the idea. So the idea with between movement, because how do you pick data points that we should start analyzing exactly? I could do every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, but that's just going to make things tricky. So I'm going to do it based on when movement occurs. Um, so yeah, yeah, it'll be between movement, and so sometimes there'll be movement that's over 100, and then there'll be like maybe movement that equates to about 20 or something. And of course, nothing is really set in stone, and nothing's going to be 100% accurate, but all I can really do is try and see what happens. So I figure if I do like over 100 movement and then all of a sudden there's a tiny bit, I'm not going to consider that. However, before anything happens regarding the analysis, I'm going to need to have at least 5 minutes straight with zero movement throughout that entire 5 minutes. So essentially, if there's a little bit of movement anywhere in between, that essentially resets. Then it's going to have to be another 5 minutes that's zero in a row. That's essentially what constitutes as really anything. So, it's kind of tricky, but yeah, analysis was kind of a pain. So, I'll tell you about the constraints. But what I was thinking of doing is, yeah, so movement that's over 100 is like kind of a starting point in a sense. Then, okay, so like if I want to analyze, if I want to do anything after 6, let's say, I'm going to probably want to start the analysis at least an hour earlier. But nothing actually would happen until a little bit later, just so I kind of, just to ensure I have stuff to work with, essentially. Because I don't want to like target 605 and barely have any data at all, where I've taken averages or whatever. So yeah, so essentially I am going to do it based on move, well, yeah, movement over 100, and then if there's any movement within 5 minutes, then that 5 minute block resets, and you try to do another 5 minute block. So yeah, and I figure anything in between, well, I mean, as far as figuring out what's likely going on, I'm going to kind of do an average of heart rate. So movement is going to be used for where the data points start and end, essentially, and the heart rate will kind of determine where I am, because throughout the entire night I found that my heart rate is rarely above my resting heart rate, like when I'm not in REM. Like it averages about, sometimes it's in the 40s, 50s, or 60s, but when I'm in REM, it might be, it's overall, it's like over my resting heart rate, but that may not always be the case, depending on what's actually happening in the dream, if I am dreaming. So, but most of the time it will be above, not all the time. And that can kind of throw the average off a little bit. So, so like right now I got a resting heart rate of 62, and I might have a heart rate of like 67, 65, 69. Lots of it is 69, strangely. But yeah, so it generally tends to be above the resting heart rate. Then it seems like deep and light sleep, if that is accurate, that can definitely be above as well. But REM is more consistently above than anything else. So I'm going to kind of rely on that fact. So essentially in between data points with, so essentially there'll be some motion here. It'll start collecting. It'll start collecting right away, but it all resets if there's motion within 5 minutes again, even if it's less than 100. Like if it's greater than 0, essentially. So then yeah, it'll reset. But this should generally be like 20 or 30 minutes with 0 motion, and then it can essentially what I was thinking of doing is, since the heart rate can sometimes be lower during REM, I was thinking of taking an average. But what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to actually sort it, the heart rate from highest to lowest, and take the average of the first half of that and see what I come up with. That should be quite a bit above the resting heart rate. And if I'm in like light sleep or deep sleep, especially early in the morning, then it's probably going to average like 55 or something. So in that case, probably not REM, even with the highest points. But with the highest points in REM, it's probably going to be like uh, 70 or 80. Right now, I think it's kind of dependent on the heart rate, and I'm sure it would vary from person to person. Person would have to analyze their own data, see if there are similar rules, but it's probably not always going to be the same. I'm doing based on what I'm going to go with for me. So I was going to see if there's like a resting heart rate thing where you can currently retrieve it. And I wouldn't be surprised if I could connect to an API, but it sounds like a lot of hassle because I do have to officially register the app, which I have done with one app that I'm not even really using anymore, where I got an API key so I can like get logs and stuff. But I'm better off just coding in what my resting heart rate is at the moment. And I was thinking eventually I would try to see if I could do a thing where I can have multiple screens where I input information like the resting heart rate, the time I want to target, like after 6 a.m., for example, that kind of thing. I'd be interested to see if that's possible to have multiple pages of like questions and then it starts. Because there's a few other apps where I could actually use that very thing. Like I have a timer that I have buttons to add or subtract the time, and essentially the buttons don't go away in the end because I don't know how to program that, but that'd be cool to figure out sometime. So I think in a future stream I may end up doing that. But for now, I think I would just hard code the resting heart rate and figure out stuff from there, right? Sort it from highest to lowest, take the average of the first half of the highest. So I think that's what I might do. So essentially, the data point is normally the time, the heart rate, XYZ. But I'm thinking I'm going to do the time, heart rate, XYZ combined. Then a fourth data point would be like an average. So when it isn't taking the average, I'll just have it say 0. And when it is, then it'll be whatever that average happens to be. So essentially the rules, I honestly, if it gets really late, I may just explain what I'm going to do without actually doing it. Because I've been trying to commit to earlier bedtimes, and I seriously want to do whatever it's going to take to achieve that. So even if that means just explaining during the live stream. Also, you may notice that the title has iteration 1 on it because this is kind of an iterative process, and now analyzing data and altering it so that it's easier to analyze, so I can kind of automate like figuring out averages and stuff like that. By the way, sometimes the 0 and 30 does seem to work pretty much perfectly, but sometimes it doesn't. I think it's if the millisecond starts out at like 987 and then it's 02. That may be a scenario where it doesn't really work out. So in that case, I may want to run check second more than once per second. That should make it happen earlier. Pretty much guarantee that it happens earlier. That's actually not a bad idea because the check second function only runs when that occurs. Also, I just realized I'm going to want to make a backup of the app. I think I'll put it on my GitHub. I do have a GitHub for Lucid Dreaming stuff. I think I'll put it on there because then I can put each version on there, at least up until now. Oh, and I do have that one version that I made like a while ago. I do. Shoot. I just deleted it recently because I didn't think I needed it anymore. Oh wait, there's a trash, isn't there? A trash for the notes. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can find that code. Oh, I found it. I did not delete it. So I guess I'm not that much of a moron. So I've got this version of the app, like pretty much before last time, at least up until the point where I added, not from the very first stream, but the part where I implemented scrolling and stuff like that. So I'll put the current version on there. First, I'm going to explain the different constraints that I have. So essentially what I've written down is, yeah, XYZ is greater than or equal to 100. That's sort of a data point that I started looking at. And then I start counting when it's all zero. Like when the movement is equal to 0, that's when I start counting. However, the data point before that, I think I'll have it inclusive. So where the motion may total something greater than 0, that heart rate may be part of the data. And then the end point where there's motion, that may also be inclusive. Then all the 0 in between. So then of course it'll reset the collection if there's like some motion that's greater than 100, 0, 0, 0, then greater than 0, it'll reset 5 minutes of 0 in a row in order for it to actually count. It'll collect, but then it'll reset if that's the case. So yeah, so then the number so the number before and after is inclusive, and then I take the average of the first half of the heart rates, but the highest. So I should be able to use some sort of sort function for that. And then realm, if it declares realm, the total should be at least 15 minutes, and then I should be declared out of it, but only if the total was at least 15 minutes. Then of course I don't want to log the first, let's say 2.5 hours. Because it is kind of meaningless. The heart rate is probably going to be higher than normal, and I'm targeting later in the day anyway. So those are the constraints essentially. And I'm not really doing real programming. I'm just altering what the data looks like for right now. So that's my shortcut for Fitbit Studio. Oh, and I may not want to show my email. I'm not even sure, so I'm just going to play it safe. So, essentially, let's see. So, why is scrolling so terrible right now? Something's wrong with scrolling. It's the mouse speed, the scroll speed a little bit more terrible. I don't know what's going on. That could be something with Fitbit Studio as well. So yeah, so regarding the check second thing, I think assuming that's what the problem is, second check, I'm going to have it run, since it is going to eventually quit, it's not going to consume that much battery at all, so I think I'll have it run like, why not? Why not have a whole bunch of precision? But then what if it goes towards the beginning? I don't know if that's really going to happen. Honestly, just running it twice a second would help a lot. Because it could, well, let's just do like 400. That'll give us quite a bit of margin. I just thought if it was like 500, I just, for some reason, I thought it could still get towards the end or something, but you know, I don't know, let's just do 500. I don't know what's up with scrolling right now. That is odd. I've never had that. So what do I want to do? Well, the motion, I want to add it all up. That should be pretty simple to do. So essentially, do I have a variable called total? I don't think so. I don't think we have any variable called totals. I think we're safe in that regard. So, oh, by the way, I was gonna say, when I was trying to do that comma thing the other day, all in one line, what I should have done was this: total y equals 0, total z equals 0. That's how you would do it all in one line, I believe. I haven't actually tested it, but I've done it before and I remembered. So I'm just gonna say total equals 0, and then can I do that all in one line? Total plus equals total x plus total y plus total z. Will that work with order of operations? That's technically total equals total plus total x plus total y plus total z. That seems a little bit odd, doesn't it? But I think it might be okay. So that'll total everything. So total. So that should give us our total. So of course I'm not really doing anything with that increment where I take one data. Actually, I sort of am. Shoot. I was hoping to not have to do that in this short amount of time that I want to spend on it yet. So the heart rate. So how do I get averages in between? Shoot. I'm gonna have to have some sort of array for sure. What heart rates equals an array, then every 30 seconds, yeah, every time we get a new data point, essentially, this is where we normally collect the heart rate. Okay, so I'm gonna want the variable to be either 0 or when we get the total. So I might have to do like an if statement. So what do I call the array? Man, this scrolling is unbelievably annoying. Heart rates. Did that highlight? I can't really tell. Yeah, I think it probably did. So yeah, so we gotta also have to keep track of which index we're on. So let HR index equal 0. So data point plus plus HR index plus plus 2. Is that the right variable name? I really have to see what's going on with this scrolling. So let's see. Heart rates index, HR index equals that. So essentially, we are going to be taking averages. I'm almost tempted to AVG heart rate That's a function. And essentially, maybe I want to do that here. I don't know. Let's try it, see how it works. So we initialized it already. So then let's call that function. So it collects the average. This is where I'm going to try to have it figure out if there's if the total movement at any given moment is. So yeah, total, that's global. So if total is greater than or equal to 100, then I'm going to do greater than or equal to, I think. Then essentially I wanted to reset that average. So heart rates equals, it becomes empty again. HR index needs to be 0. And I'm not even sure if this is what I want, to be perfectly honest with you. So average heart rate. Might create a variable called dump, just because I wanted to know whether to report 0 or whatever that heart rate is. So essentially, if dump, then else. Essentially, I kind of wanted to do that. I don't like the fact that I put an if statement in there, but screw it. I know I did it here, but it's a single line, so I like that. So we are going to probably want to run this after, because I want to dump it before it potentially resets. And see, this is where dump becomes true. And dump will become false in there. So what will constitute dump to become true? Oh, this, but okay, so I wanted to essentially figure out the average at this point. I wanted to figure out the average in here probably. So then we would iterate over heart rates, right? But first I want to have it sort heart rates. JavaScript sort array. I'm hoping to not have to use any prototype things. I don't know how that's going to work. Dot sort. How to sort. I'm just gonna look up like JavaScript sort numbers from largest to smallest. I was really hoping to not have to use like a sorting algorithm or anything like that. Oh, you evil. Do you have any respect for people's privacy? Whatever. Why in the world? Well, it's worth trying. Oh shoot, I didn't copy and paste the code before the start of this video. Screw it. I will admit it would have been nice if I did. I'm just gonna copy and paste this in case I can't revert. Come on. In case I can't revert back to this. I'm gonna undo, see if I can undo all the way to the beginning of this video. I think we have. So that's what I was gonna put right here. Now can we redo? Kind of interesting to watch this happen. So sort array. Sort. So then, do I want to change heart rates? Or do I want to like store it in a separate array? Let temp HR equals heart rates, and I don't know if it actually stores a copy of the array or what, but heart or temp HR could be what the actual sorted is. Sort array heart rates, and then I want to get the average of half of that, so I would take the number divided by 2, but I could floor it because it doesn't actually have to be exactly half. I just thought, like, if it's 11 divided by 2, you're not gonna have an array length of 5.5. So actually, I'd kind of like to round it up. Math.ceiling, is that what it's called? Math.ceil. Okay, so let's see. So we sort the array, and then we're going to get the average of each one of them. So for let I equals 0, I is less than math.ceil temp HR I plus plus divided by 2, then essentially I want to get sum. Is sum taken up? Only a math function. I don't think it's anything to worry about. Yeah, we're good. So sum equals 0. So then we're going to go through temp HR index I. Shoot. So sum plus equals temp HR index I. Is that right? I would put that into a function, but I don't. That's kind of why I made this one. So at this point, we'll have our average. Honestly, I don't care if this works tonight or not, so I don't think I'm gonna really do any testing in it. It's a little bit later than I was hoping it would be. So sum plus equals, I kind of want to know what this number is, so I'm going to say let total HR equals that. Then I'm going to use that variable here, because what I want to do is, why do I need, because I'm storing that total sum. Actually, I'm kind of tempted to find get average HR and then see, once we get the total sum, let's go back one, then see, we're going to divide sum by total HR. That's why I created that variable. Then I think that should be our average, right? So then we would return sum. Oops. So the average that we want is so we get the average. See, I could put this function right here, and then this dump variable wouldn't need to even happen. But then again, I don't want to call that function unless I'm actually doing this. I'm going to do it like this. So since we're returning the average heart rate, wait, isn't there some sort of variable for that? I don't know. What do I do with this number right here? So, otherwise, return 0, right? Because that would allow me to run it regardless. But yeah, that would get rid of the whole dump concept, I think. Would this work? I honestly don't even know if it's gonna work. I don't want to spend really any more time on it. If it works, great. If not, I guess I'll make a quick video tomorrow where I troubleshoot this. That'll be iteration 2. Even if it's just troubleshooting this one little thing and it takes 5 minutes, I don't care. I want to end this like right now. So this formula right here seems rather strange, but it seems to work, so I'm not going to complain. I sincerely hope that I'm doing this right. We'll find out. I haven't done any testing, so this might be the one programming video that doesn't involve any testing. Now, yeah, I think I will have it so it doesn't actually start until like 2.5 hours later. There's one more thing I could do. So if I wanted to wait for 2.5 hours, then second check, I won't start that till 2.5 hours later. Let start delay equal delay start. Oops. Set interval delay start 2.5 hours in milliseconds is equal to, I'm kind of lazy to figure it out, so 2 hours times 60, that's 120 minutes times, well, plus 30, that's 150. That's 150 minutes. 2.5 hours is 150 minutes times 60. So 150 times 60, 9,000. So 9 million. So 9 million. So delay start. Delay start will run that. First we'll clear interval delay start, and then this will start running. So in theory, it should work 2.5 hours after I open the app. And realistically, what is going on with the scroll now? What is there like some weird acceleration factor? It's almost like there is. That is dumb. So I might actually have it start based on when I've actually gone to bed. So if I really wanted to do that, then no. Screw it. I'm gonna leave it. I would also do it based on when it's declared me asleep with the sleep.state variable, but screw that. Like for tonight anyway. So let's just see if there's any errors, I guess. Otherwise this will be like hopefully the only programming video I make with no debugging involved, because that's not good practice at all. You should generally do things step by step. So, boy, I bet my bedtime is... I'm gonna have to make some compromises to make my good bedtime work out. I really don't want to have to do that, but I'm gonna have to if I want to stick to it. So, well, build complete. That's amazing considering I didn't do any error checking. So I guess if there's any errors, then tonight's not going to be a good night for data collection, and iteration 2 is going to have to happen where I correct that error. But I have a playlist with all the videos, so it shouldn't be too hard to keep track of and stuff. So that is going to be it then, I guess. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to let me know. I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's it. So thanks for watching and have a good one. Peace.